Good morning, Corpus Christi, Coastal Bend listeners worldwide. Welcome on in to another edition of the Sunday Sports Rush right here on News Talk KEYS, 1440 AM and 98.7 FM. I am your host, James Espinosa. Behind the glass, producing the show, being a co-host, and being one of my best friends, it's Adin Ducker.
What's Gucci with it?
Alex is also one of my best friends, and he's in here as well. What's up, Weister?
I'm glad to be here as always.
We are here. It's episode number 122, live from the 1440 Keys Americana Arms studio, and we're pumped. 122. Wow, crazy. We are just climbing up in the numbers. Soon it'll be 125, 130, and then towards the end of the year, it'll be 150. That's kind of crazy to think about. But, yeah, go ahead.
And funny enough, next week is going to be my 1-year anniversary on here.
Nice. 1 year?
Mm-hmm.
Or two?
Is it going to be two?
Two, Alex.
Yeah, man, time flies.
Two. It'll be your 2-year anniversary with us.
That is crazy, actually.
Yeah, that is insane. So if you want to get in on the text line, hit us up, 361-882-5397. Time is merely a flat circle, and
really
we are
is.
just here biding our time. And we want you to join us this morning and talk some sports with us. Coming up at 9:50, I have a Dusty Baker complaint, and he has set me off. The Astros continue to struggle. Dusty Baker last night did something that is inexcusable. I'll tell you that at 9:50. At 9:30, we do have some Major League Baseball talk, a full segment of baseball because it's much deserved. Elly De La Cruz is lighting the league on fire, and holy crap, the Angels last night put a shellacking on the Rockies. We'll talk all that at 9:30. At 9:20, we have a mega fight that is brewing. A mega fight that is brewing. We'll talk about that at 9:20. But right now, go ahead, Aiden. We are celebrating this morning. It is official. That's right. Turn it up. Victor Wembanyam is here. Let's go! Yeah! Wemby! Let's go! We're hyped! San Antonio! Let's go! Wemby! Let's go! Let's go! Go Spurs! Go! Go Spurs! Go! Yes! 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 Wemby! Wemby! Go Spurs! Go! It's Wemby! It's Wemby! He's in San Antonio! I love you! I love you! Wemby! Wemby! Wemby!
Okay.
All right.
Alex, you should have pulled out your camera, man.
Wow.
You should have pulled out your camera as soon as
I was shocked. I don't think I would have been able to process that.
361-882-5397. Victor Wembanyama
Wow.
is a Spur. He's here. I'm excited. Hit us up with your takes on Wembanyama. Will he win the Spurs another championship? And if so, how long will it take?
How much coffee did you
That
drink
is the
this
question of the day.
morning? How much coffee did you drink this morning?
Barely any.
He's high. He's just high on the Wembanyama hype. That's
I'm just high on sports. Sports is my drug, all right? And I'm here, and I'm delivering. So 361-882-5397. Wemby's here. Question of the day to the listening audience. Will Wemby bring another title to the Spurs? And if he does, how long will it take? Let's start with Aiden. Answer that question.
I truly believe in his talent and what he can bring on the court. If he stays healthy, which I think that's the main concern, I think he's gonna ball out and be skillful in the NBA and score. You know, I see him averaging low 20s with 10 rebounds, like several blocks a game, even several dimes. You know, out of double teams and whatnot. But it all depends if he's healthy. But if he's healthy, I know the Spurs are a championship organization that will find a way to put the right pieces around him. I do see a chip in the future.
There we go. How long do you think it takes for them to compete? Weister.
I would say at least next year at the soonest. There's a lot of free agents that we didn't really expect coming into the market this offseason. But I don't think they really need to go out and blow all the money that they have on the free agents that are in the market this year. I think it's more of a year to go out and build a supporting cast, but keep your eye on who's coming up down the road, because then you could fill out and then sort of plan to try and lure in those guys who are coming into free agency next year.
And since we are the home of the Spurs, we're going to have at 10:30, just kind of teasing ahead, Jeff Garcia will be on the line with us, our good friend of KENS 5 San Antonio, host of the Locked On Spurs podcast. We'll ask him all the Wemby questions, all the Spurs franchise questions at 10:30, so stick around for that. So the Wembanyama era started. We were at Twin Peaks for our party.
Yeah.
And when this moment happened, Aiden, when Victor Wembanyama was selected number 1 overall, go ahead and play that audio. Let's get it out the way.
With the first pick in the 2023 NBA Draft, the San Antonio Spurs select Victor Wembanyama from Nanterre, France.
When that moment happened, I lost my ass at Twin Peaks, and both these gentlemen in here with me can attest to that. I even got a side eye from some guy who was sitting next to us. I guess he was annoyed by my excitement by Wemby. Guess what? We're at a sports bar, and the NBA draft is on. We're not at a damn library, dude.
Yeah,
What's wrong with you?
He gave you a dirty side eye.
Yeah, I would also attest to that.
I was rocking my Wemby jersey loud and proud. I shook hands with the majority of Spurs fans. It was awesome. It was great. A good time. Many beers were consumed by yours truly.
Yeah.
I was a little bit of the drunk uncle at Twin Peaks with these guys.
Sure were.
These guys with the little grimace on their face. They know exactly what I'm talking about here. But overall, I would say it was a fun time. And some news came out, of course, ever since Wemby has been drafted and he's made his rounds around San Antonio. He landed on his private jet. The San Antonio fans were there waiting for him. He looked very excited about it. Things are just an immaculate vibe right now. And as a sports fan, as a Spurs fan, for all my life, I can never remember a moment more exciting than what I am currently living right now. And I'm pretty sure that Spurs fans can attest to that. There's so much promise. There's so much hope. There's so much optimism going forward that, man, it just seems like right now in this moment, the Spurs fan base is on top of the world. It just really feels like that. And quick note here, Popovich, Greg Popovich, of course, head coach of the Spurs, he said that Wembanyama will play in the Summer League. Quote from Greg Popovich, as I said before, I've only spoken with him on the phone a couple of times, so I got to get a better feel for where his head is at, Popovich said as Wembanyama was getting drafted. Popovich said that he, that they believe that they're going to make a decision at some point and that they feel that Wembanyama will play at least a little bit during the Summer League. And the Summer League does kick off in early June, I believe. The first date, or early July, I should say. I believe the first date for Summer League is July the 5th. And, of course, the NBA has the Spurs playing against the Hornets and the Spurs playing against the Blazers. So you're going to see Wemby versus Brandon Miller. You'll see Wemby versus Scoot Henderson at Summer League. Smart play by the NBA,
Yeah,
of course. Match up the top 3 picks against each other.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a fun time. So the Spurs' future is a big thing that's being questioned right now. You know, the past 4 seasons for the San Antonio Spurs, they haven't finished over 500. 32-39, 33-39, 34-48, and then this year they bottomed out at 22-60 for the second worst record in the entire league.
Yes.
Wemby joins a Spurs team that's been heavily reliant on young players. The Spurs' top 5 scorers in total points were all 25 years old or younger. And that didn't include last year's number 9 overall pick, Jeremy Sohan, who averaged 11 points and 5 rebounds. Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell, Malachi Branham, and Sohan help form a core for what San Antonio has going forward. Now, do we feel that that core should be kept intact to work with Wemby, or do you think the Spurs might use one of those core members right there to entice a trade to bring in a more veteran scoring presence?
That's a tough one because the Nuggets, you know, they kept their core together, and and what they did was they brought in a couple of role players, solid championship level role players. I feel like that's the way the Spurs should go instead, because I feel like team chemistry and continuity is a thing. The super team era is gone. I'm not high on the Suns at all with what they did.
Yeah, no.
The only time it really worked was like, you know, the big 3 and the Warriors, but I think teams are finally caught up now.
Yeah.
And I rather just keep these players. They're young and they have room to develop, and you know the Spurs are great at developing players that they draft, and so I don't think that I feel like there are a couple of free agents that the Spurs could sign that, can help them, that aren't like big stars like Brook Lopez. I'll ask Jeff about him later to see if the Spurs are interested in signing him, because Wemby wants to be a 4, right? And so that's a perfect signing. So Brook can easily play the 5, and he can stretch the floor as well. But he's not one-dimensional, Brook Lopez. So that could help out the team. And that's what I would do.
How would you play it, Alex? Would you, if you're general manager Brian Wright, are you keeping that young core intact and having them form this bond and this relationship with Wemby, or are you pushing the button and saying, hey, we got to start competing immediately?
I mean, Aiden sort of touched on what I was saying. Just bring in some guys who can sort of fill out the roster and prepare for that big push that you're going to eventually make with a player like Victor Wembanyama. But just see what you have. Like, don't try and force making something out of this. Of course, if it doesn't work, then try and make some trades. But why not take the pieces that you have and see what they can do with Victor Wembanyama and then go from there? Because who knows, maybe the roster that they have around him ends up working extremely well, and we don't really think that they need that many more pieces. So we don't really know, because this is such a massive player. Who knows if he just doesn't fit in with the roster and they need to get a bunch of more pieces, but it's to be seen.
I think year one, and I agree with both of y'all's takes right there, very sound takes. I think year one with Wembanyama is going to be a trial
and error, yeah,
for these young core. And it's going to be a year where the front office, where Pop or R.C. Buford, where they're looking at these guys and saying, who can really play with Wemby? Who does Wemby bring the best out of? Who doesn't fit with Wemby? Year one's going to be about fitting this giant puzzle together. And then, in my opinion, year two is when you start seeing the Spurs acquire more veterans, more role players, and maybe even go after a bigger star.
And I know he's left a bad taste in Spurs fans' mouths, but an interesting player that I think would have fit pretty nicely with him is DeJounte Murray. I can't lie. I feel like that combo would have been really good.
You know, in hindsight, right, DeJounte with his ball skills would have fit nicely with Wemby.
But we couldn't have pictured this. It's just not possible.
But the Spurs made the trade for obvious reasons to try and tank and lose as many games as possible. So without the DeJounte Murray trade, who knows? Maybe with DeJounte Murray, they win 5 more games, and then the Spurs are picking number 5 or 6, and they get one of the Thompson twins or something. I mean, it's a butterfly effect when you think about it. Go ahead, Aiden.
And I remember telling you this, like, back when we first started the show about the Spurs' future, and we repeatedly said we don't like the Spurs being NBA purgatory, because I told you, James, I wanted the Spurs to, have a bad. If they're gonna have a bad year, they need to. I was envisioning. You remember? I was like, Jokic and Antetokounmpo. I was envisioning the Spurs getting a good Euro talent. And it finally came true 2 years later.
It happened. The patience paid off. Spurs fans, team tank, it paid off. I want to play one last Wemby clip. It's really quick. This was Victor Wembanyama after he was drafted at the NBA draft. Just extremely emotional, as he should be about being drafted number 1 overall. This is courtesy of ESPN.
Victor, bienvenue à la NBA.
Gracias.
Tell me what this emotion, tell me about these tears.
It's just accomplishing something that I've been dreaming of, my whole life. Hearing that sentence from Adam Silver, I've dreamed of it so much that, I gotta cry, man.
He's gotta cry. Get it, Wemby.
It's crazy to me when you look at him and then hear his voice. It's such a disconnect in my brain, because I'd never heard him speak before that. But listening to it, it's like his voice is a lot deeper than I would have possibly imagined.
He speaks very well.
He does. He really does.
Very good English for a French guy. So there we go. What are your thoughts on Wembanyama? Get in here on the text line. Does he bring the Spurs another championship? And if so, how fast does he do it? What year does it happen? That's our question of the day. 361-882-5397. Hit us up on the text line. But coming up next, could this really be the fight of the century? It's coming up next in the 920 News. Sunday Sports Rush, episode 122. James, Aiden, and Alex hanging with you till 11 a.m. Coming up in 15 minutes, we got some Major League Baseball talk. Gonna go over the standings, who's hot, who's not. Elly De La Cruz of the Reds lighting the league on fire. Had a cycle the other night. We'll talk about him and his ascent to stardom in these past 2 weeks since he's been in Major League Baseball. That's coming up in 15 minutes' time. Our question of the day, will Victor Wembanyam win an NBA title with the Spurs, and how long will it take for that to happen? We got people weighing in on my social media feed on Facebook. Ryan's in here. Ryan says 3 years. I think he's going to feed off the San Antonio fans big time, the best fans in the world. I didn't even care for basketball till I went to my first game. The passion they bring will fuel him to live up to the hype. I do like that take. I think 3 years is a little hopeful. I think 3 years will be probably the best case scenario will be this year. But 3 years, to me, that's a little hopeful. I'm more in the 5 to maybe 6 year range that they win a title, me personally.
And I actually want to touch on that thing where he didn't care about basketball until he went to a game. That's funny enough, like a thing that I hear from a lot of people is when you go to a game, they put on not just the basketball game, the pace of it, the energy in the stadium, but the shows that they do and all that, it's really worth your time to go to one.
The NBA is such a fun live sport
it really
to watch.
is.
I know on TV, sometimes it could get monotonous. Sometimes it could bog you down with the fouls and everything like that. But in person, live, seeing those athletes out there doing things that you would never think one could do with a basketball, seeing their height in person is also another thing that just kind of blows you away.
Yeah.
Because on TV, we know these guys are tall, but in person, when you really see it, you're just blown away. Good take right there, Ryan. He says 3 years. Dominic is in here. One more, and then we'll get to our topic this segment. Dominic is weighing in on when Victor Wembanyam could win the Spurs a title, and if so, how long. Dominic says he's got to stay healthy, bro. He has the game to stay on the outside and shoot a la KD. Eventually, he will add some muscle to his frame, and then he will be a bigger problem. So he just has a general take on Wemby, saying Wemby has to stay healthy, and if he adds that muscle, he's going to be a huge problem. I agree. Look, he's a 19-year-old kid. He weighs 225 pounds. He's lanky. He's 7'5". Yeah, there's a lot to grow for Victor Wembanyama in terms of his frame, and I think the NBA, the Spurs in particular, will try and do that as best as they can. 361-882-5397. Weigh in. Question of the day, will Wembanyama bring the Spurs another title? And if so, how long will it take? Hit us up on the text line, 361-882-5397. Right now, though, it is time for the 920 news.
There's a lot of news.
And now the news.
We have a super fight potentially in the making. This broke this past week. Mark Zuckerberg has apparently agreed to a fight with Elon Musk in a cage match that would feature the billionaire leaders of two giant tech companies, Meta and Twitter. Whether the two moguls are joking remains to be seen, but this exchange happened on Twitter while replying to a user discussing Meta's plans to build a Twitter rival. Musk challenged the company's founder on Wednesday to a cage match if he's up for it. Zuckerberg responded to a screenshot of the tweet and said, quote, "Send me location," in a story on Instagram, which is owned, of course, by Meta. Musk's Twitter executive chair and chief technology officer suggested the Vegas Octagon, referring to the UFC Apex in Las Vegas. So, and it has gotten, this news has gotten to Dana White's desk. Dana White has commented. I think Dana White said that he could make it happen. And even Logan Paul has jumped in and said that he would promote the fight as well.
Oh, man.
A mega fight. Now, I know this probably won't
so much to
happen.
say.
It is hilarious to think about Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk fighting each other. But if they were to fight each other, who wins this hypothetical battle of the media technology titans?
Easily Mark Zuckerberg. Just because he won those he was winning jiu-jitsu matches recently as last month or whatnot. There's also, I believe, like a 13-year age difference or something like that, or like a 13, 15 year or something like that. You know, I really don't have a winner in this fight because I I have problems with both people.
Would you watch?
I would watch, yeah.
I think
probably
it's hard not to.
I probably would root more Zuckerberg, but he's banned me so many times on Facebook, I still lose a sour taste in my mouth. And then Elon Musk, ever since he took over Twitter, he took away people's ability to use bots. You know, every Breaking Bad frame is stopped right now.
Because he took away that bot ability?
Yeah, you can't see the dinger, the would it dong. You can't see that anymore.
The what?
With the home runs. It's a home run bot.
Oh, okay.
It shows you if there's a home run hit out this certain park or not.
Oh, wow. Man,
and I see all this Nazi propaganda on my Twitter more often because of this, and I don't know. I have problems with both guys.
It's the battle of two evils when you think about it. And
Alex, what do you thought?
Your thoughts, Alex? Who wins this hypothetical fight?
I agree with Aiden completely. I can't say I've ever seen Elon Musk in any sort of, not even just like a fighting aspect, but any sort of athletic aspect ever. So I have no idea if he would even be able to match up anywhere close to Zuckerberg. So I feel like it would be a very quick fight and probably not really worth anybody's time, honestly.
So Aiden did mention this, but Zuckerberg recently won gold and silver medals in his first jiu-jitsu tournament, and this happened just earlier this year in a competition back in May. So one has the jiu-jitsu. He could just take Elon down and smother him and just choke him out.
And now I do want to touch on that gold and silver medal thing. He had silver initially, complained about something during the match. They redid it, and then he won gold. So he won 2 medals in the same match.
Elon Musk did come back and say that he has a move that will take Zuckerberg down. It's called, quote, the walrus, where Elon would just essentially smother Zuckerberg on the mat and force him to tap.
That's not how that works.
That's what Elon said.
That is not how that works.
So there we go.
I mean, Elon's kind of pudgy. I mean, he's not. I wouldn't say he's the most fit person, but he's not like a complete slob either. So.
Yeah, so there we go. This hypothetical fight of the Titans. Will it happen? Who knows? But it was just a fun little quick story to get to and kind of talk about here real quickly during the 920 news. That wraps that segment up. 361-882-5397. Our question of the day: will Victor Wembanyam win a title with the San Antonio Spurs? And if he does, how long will it take? Hit us up on the text line, 361-882-5397. When we come back, we dive into some Major League Baseball talk. This kid is taking the league by storm. We talk some Major League Baseball after the break. Stick around. Welcome back, Sunday Sports Rush. It's James, Aiden, and Alex with you till 11 a.m. Coming up in 15 minutes, Dusty Baker has set me off. The Astros lost again last night to the Dodgers in a pathetic fashion. We'll have an Astros report for you coming up in 15 minutes. You're going to want to stick around for that. I got some things to say about Dusty Baker and his lack of sticking up for his team last night. Shout out to Crossroads Clinical Research. If you're looking to lose a few pounds, then pay attention. Our friend of the show, Jerry, over at Crossroads Research, has an exciting new study involving a pill version of an amazing medication called Mounjaro. Crossroads is currently looking for volunteers to try this weight loss pill. There are some conditions. You have to be diabetic and have heart problems to qualify for this study. So if you need to lose a few, if you're diabetic, you have those heart issues, call our friend and sponsor Jerry over at Crossroads Research at 361-288-4668. That's 361-288-4668, or hit them up at number3cra.com. That is number3cra.com. Thank you to Jerry and Crossroads Clinical Research for sponsoring the show. Jerry actually texted me this week. He was in Los Angeles with his son. He sent me a picture of him at the Angel Stadium watching the Angels, and Shohei Ohtani was pitching. So I was like, damn, that's pretty cool. So Jerry got to see Shohei live in person this past week. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
right
this was before the Angels select the Rockies, right?
Yeah, and you're bringing that up right now. Let's go ahead and talk that real quickly. The Angels last night beat the Rockies 25-1. The Angels had 28 hits. The Angels had a 13-run third inning and set a franchise record for runs and hits in the 25-1 rout over the Colorado Rockies. The interesting thing about this, you're thinking, oh, man, 25 runs? Shohei Ohtani must have went off. Shohei last night was 1 for 7 at the plate. He did have a run scored and 1 RBI, but he was 1 for 7. Mike Trout, 3 for 3, 3 runs, 1 home run, 1 RBI. So Trout went off, and everybody else just pretty much dominated this Rockies team. So you look at the Angels, and the Angels are 6 games back of the Rangers. They're a half game up on the Astros. They're in second place in the AL West.
Yeah.
And there was an interesting video I saw from this. I believe it was that one hit from Shohei. It looked like him at least. Who was starting for the Rockies? Was it Freeland?
I think this was the game before, Alex.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, it was.
Yeah.
Last night, the winning pitcher for the Angels was Canning, and the losing pitcher for the Rockies was Anderson.
I mean, they had 4 pitchers go out there, and pretty much all of them got rocked.
Anderson pitched 2 2/3, gave up 9 earned runs in his start for the Rockies.
I find it interesting that they left Shohei out there for so long, but after 3 at-bats, they pulled Trout.
Yeah, interesting. Maybe they just, wanted to get Shohei some at-bats. I mean, he bats all the time, but 1 for 7, Look, you're going to have a bad game, but still, 25-1, the Rockies got shellacked by the Los Angeles Angels.
I mean, Trout's been banged up the last couple seasons, so there's no point in having him out there when you're up like 20 runs.
Some more baseball news. The hottest team in the majors, the Reds, they were on a 12-game winning streak. And on Friday night, Elly De La Cruz became the youngest Major League player to hit for the cycle in 51 years as Cincinnati beat the Braves 11-10 on Friday night. Now, Elly De La Cruz is 21. He had a double to open the second inning, had a 2-run homer in the third, hit a run-scoring single to center in the fifth, and then tripled in the sixth for his 4th RBI of the night. We have the play-by-play audio. It's absolutely electric. This is from John Sadek of Bally Sports up there in Cincinnati. So give this a listen. Elly De La Cruz hits for the cycle.
This Reds team is going to have a lot of scoring opportunities. De La Cruz, right center. Down base hit. Could he go free? India around third. India scores. It's a cycle.
Electric Factory, baby. It's a cycle.
And that's
great.
the announcer that replaced Tom Brenneman, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Definitely so. Dude, that was an electric call by John Sadek.
That was so good. And, I mean, the Reds, they have a lot of interesting players to watch. Of course, you heard him on the call. Jonathan India, he's another one of the players. Joey Votto, Tyler Stevenson. They got some decent starting pitchers in Graham Ashcraft and Hunter Green.
Oh, Hunter Green's a beast.
This isn't like a horrible team by any means. They're extremely fun to watch.
And the Reds did lose last night, 7-6 to the Braves, so their 12-game winning streak was snapped. But the story, though, with the Reds is ever since they brought up Elly De La Cruz, that 12-game winning streak kind of coincides with when he came up. De La Cruz, as a rookie, he's been absolutely fantastic, man. And this kid is special. He's powerful. He is super fast.
Yes, and I believe I looked at it, and I think it was 10 seconds from hit to third, which is absolutely nuts. That is crazy.
That is ungodly speed right there. And he had the cycle. That's amazing. And the Reds, man, look, when the Reds are a good baseball team, Cincinnati is one of the best baseball towns in this country. That stadium has been absolutely
one of the best sports towns in general.
Just jumping off in that stadium at Great American Ballpark. So the Reds, they're doing quite well. And if you look at the Reds here, bringing up the NL Central standings, the Reds are currently in first place by a game and a half over the Milwaukee Brewers. The Reds sit at 41-36. The Brewers at 39-37. So
I got the Reds. I think they're too dynamic. The Brewers are always mid. So.
Yeah, I hate to agree with you, but it's true.
I like them. They're a fun team to watch.
The Brewers are a boring team. The Reds are more fun.
I don't got anything against the Reds.
I don't either.
They did beat the Astros in a series at Minute Maid Park, so yeah. But who isn't beating the Astros lately, right?
Yeah. Funny.
We talk Astros. We talk Astros in 10 minutes. Go ahead.
I also didn't know this. Elly De La Cruz is a switch hitter?
Yes.
Okay, he's a factory child. This is not a real human being. There's no reason why somebody who can switch hit and run that fast is allowed to be a baseball player. This is wrong.
He's a super athlete, man, and that's just amazing to see. Another young player who's just growing the game, reaching new markets. It's fun.
There's so many great young players in the MLB right now.
He's like an O'Neal Cruz that gets on base.
He's this year's version of O'Neal Cruz.
Yeah.
No, but O'Neal Cruz was batting below 200 most of this season.
Yeah, no, he wasn't as good of a batter.
But remember, last year, O'Neal Cruz was the story of the summer. He was the young rookie that was...
I mean, he had talent, and he had, like, but...
He's still good. O'Neal
Well,
Cruz is still a good player
He's
for the
hurt
Pirates.
right now, so I can't judge him right now because he's injured.
I got to see O'Neal Cruz live in person when I went to Denver last year and saw the Rockies and Pirates, so that was a pretty fun little thing for me. Another news note here in the Major League Baseball week, and if you have any takes, hit us up on the text line 361-882-5397. How's your baseball team doing? Let us know. New York Yankees slugger Aaron Judge said Saturday he has a torn ligament in his right big toe and is experiencing pain when he walks. When the Yankees placed Judge on the injured list June 6th, the team said he was dealing with a contusion and a sprained ligament in his right big toe. There remains no timetable for the return of the reigning American League MVP. This does not look good for Aaron Judge.
No, it does not.
And it does not look good for the Yankees. And ever since Judge left that lineup, the Yankees, much like the Astros, have been struggling to produce runs. They're kind of hit by that injury bug.
Yeah.
Their pitching is not that great this year.
They're missing, 2 or 3 good starting pitchers?
Let's just say the rest of the AL is loving this right now.
Yes.
Yeah, the AL is like, it's like a big guy like me on Thanksgiving, just ready to feast.
Yankees manager Aaron Boone said Saturday he expects Judge to return this season, but did not provide any guarantees. This is a quote from Aaron Boone. The reality is we're without him right now, and we've got to find a way to get it done, Boone said. We have the people in there to get it done. We just got to do a better job right now putting pressure on the opposing pitchers and defense. Well, yeah, I mean, you got to do that, but it's easier said than done when, especially if the MVP was back in your lineup, and he's not right now. And, of course, Judge, American League record last year, 62 home runs. He was hitting .291 with 19 homers and 40 RBIs this year.
He was batting really well when he was playing.
At the time of his injury. Yeah, so that's a huge loss. Much like the way Yordan is a big loss for the Astros, this is the same thing. Without Judge in the lineup for the Yankees, they are just not that complete.
And another similarity is that I've noticed the Yankees and Boone in his lineups, like same thing with Dusty Baker. It's always switching stuff around and no continuity in there. Just absolute, at least Dusty has a ring though. It's from last year, but still, it's like, it's a new year now, and they're both delivering the same results.
It's hard to be consistent when you're missing the big guy in the lineup like that, man. It's tough. Look, I do have some sympathy for Dusty Baker, and we'll dive into that more here in about 10 minutes' time, but it's tough to fill out your lineup card and put together the best lineup when your key cog is missing. Next news item in Major League Baseball talk, Luis Arraez of the Miami Marlins. My God, this is an amazing story this season. This kid is hitting like a machine, and he has a ridiculous stat line right now. Currently hitting .402 batting average, 35 RBI. His OPS is .939. OPS, of course, listeners out there, is slugging percentage plus on-base percentage. So you pretty much combine those. He has a .939 OPS, which is pretty elite. Anything above 900 and in the 1,000s in OPS, that is elite status. So Luis Arraez, just another young star, another stud who's doing his thing, and the Miami Marlins are actually competing this year. They're 44-34. They're in second place behind the Braves. They're 6 games back, but still, they're contending for a wild card.
Yeah, so bye-bye. Jorge Soler's not going to be on the trade market, so that dream is over with. So, the Marlins, they're another exciting team and whatnot, and I like what this Arraez is doing. He doesn't – I wish more hitters had his approach to the plate. He doesn't hit for power. He just tries to put the ball in play.
Yeah.
Man, it doesn't make sense sometimes. I'm not a baseball player by any means, but it doesn't make any sense how more hitters don't have his approach. They just want to belt that ball out of there.
Well, because in this day and age, you're getting taught launch angles. You're getting taught how to, you got to hit for power. That's the thing nowadays.
Arraez has some of the worst exit velocity and worst launch angles,
and he's playing into it.
Well, he's just a pure hitter. He's going to his strengths. He's not a power guy.
I guess not everybody's Luis Arias, but
yeah, I mean, it's just plain and simple. He's playing to his strengths, but I mean, the future is extremely bright in the MLB nonetheless. I mean, there are so many young players that are extremely fun, and the fact that Elly De La Cruz is playing so well, and he's might not even win Rookie of the Year because of Corbin Carroll. I mean,
another young stud for the Diamondbacks, yeah.
That kid's a freak. He's in, the 99th percentile of sprint speed?
I think as we wrap up this Major League segment, the one thing we can take away is that baseball is in very good hands.
Absolutely.
With a lot of the young talent that is coming up and producing and just making more fans, bringing in that younger audience that baseball has so desperately needed. This is a fun time if you're a baseball fan.
No.
And that's going to wrap. Oh, you got something?
Well,
Go ahead.
The one thing I will say about this season so far is that, I know we don't like to see the Astros struggling, but at least the other big boys are struggling too. So.
Yeah, you got a point with that.
And there's still a lot of baseball to be played. The summer months are upon us. The All-Star game is coming up. And yeah, man, this is a great time for baseball. That's going to wrap up our baseball segment. 361-882-5397. Question of the day. When does Victor Wembanyam win the Spurs a title? Does he win them a title? Let us know on the text line, 361-882-5397. When we come back, Dusty Baker set me off, and the Astros are spiraling down the AL West standings. We have an Astros report next. Stick around. Sunday Sports Rush, episode 122. James, Aiden, and Alex with you till 11 a.m. Coming up at the top of the hour, we dive right back into the NBA draft. Our takes on the draft, some more Victor Wembanyama audio and observations now that he is a San Antonio Spur. Let's dive right into it. It's an Astros report. We're continuing our Major League Baseball, but right now we're specifically focusing on the Houston Astros. Last night was a wild-ass game. The Dodgers win 8-7. That's not even the brunt of it. They win 8-7. Alex Bregman had a grand slam, which I thought that secured the Astros win. That was nice. Brady hit a grand slam. Good.
I mean, last year's Astros, that was a win. No matter
exactly. It should have been a win, right? But then the Astros, of course, go to their bullpen. And in the 7th inning, Phil Maton gives up 2 runs, which makes the score at the time 7-5.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the 8th inning, Brian Abreu comes in. He gives up 2 runs. Score is 7-7.
3 straight walks to start the... I know the home plate up was really bad, which factored into that, but still, like, some of those walks aren't all in the up, but that's on you.
And then Dusty Baker decides to bring in Ryan Stanek. 7-7 game, right? We're hoping Stanek can get out of this inning. There's a runner on third. There's 2 outs. Ryan Stanek is called for a balk. The runner on third scores off the balk. It's 8-7. Now, it's very controversial, this balk. I don't think it was a balk. It looked like Stanek stepped off, but the second base umpire is the one who called the balk and said that Stanek made some kind of move which forced the balk.
Well, first of all, before the balk, there was a called ball that should have been a strike. That should have ended the inning.
That too.
The home plate umpire was really bad.
So the balk happens. Stanek is absolutely peed off. He gets the out, and then whenever the score's 8-7 Dodgers, Stanek is going back to the dugout, and then Stanek starts to just go off on the second base umpire. I've never seen Ryan Stanek that upset. He got his money's worth. Stanek gets ejected. Dusty then goes out. He gets ejected, so they both get ejected. The Astros end up losing the game 8-7. But my one gripe of this whole situation is, in a moment like that, 7-7, a balk happens, run scores, it's a controversial call. Dusty Baker left Ryan Stanek out there to dry. Why wasn't Dusty Baker out there protesting the call, which was controversial? Why wasn't Dusty Baker out there fighting for his player, fighting for his team? Dusty Baker stayed on the front step, did not even move, let Stanek get ejected, and then Dusty Baker, after the fact, goes out there to try and save face, and he gets ejected. Dusty Baker should have been out there when that call happened. Bruce Bochy goes out there. Tony La Russa goes out there. Lou Piniella goes out there. Dusty Baker did not fight for his team last night, and that pissed me off.
We saw more fight out of the Sinton first base coach in their game against Bernie than we did out of
Ryan
Dusty Baker.
Stanek had more fight than Dusty Baker, and that is sad. A manager needs to stick up for their guys in a situation like that, and that really got me disappointed in Dusty Baker. His lineups have been questionable. Some of his pitching decisions have been very questionable. This year for Dusty Baker has not been good, and I get it. I'm hot take. I'm reactionary right now. But if this thing continues to spiral, Dusty Baker will not be the manager of the Astros next year.
Well, this was an issue in the beginning of the year. We were touching on this like in the beginning of the season when he was rolling out some of those lineups and we were seeing him make changes. We were like, that's a bit odd, but we're here for the change. Let's just see if we can try something different. And as the time has gone on, it's just been getting like, okay, why are we doing this? We saw the changes in the beginning. Stuff started to work, and we just keep changing it. And it just keeps going.
And I don't understand what Dusty Baker has against Chas McCormick. Chas McCormick should be out there as a, everyday outfielder. And if you want to put in Myers, then have Chas play for jokes. But he needs to be out there most of the time, Chas.
According to Chandler Rome of The Athletic, he dropped some serious tea on Dusty Baker this week in an article he had. According to Chandler Rome, this is directly from the article. It's no secret inside Houston's clubhouse that Baker is not a fan of Chas McCormick's and hasn't been since early last season, which has somewhat impacted his playing time.
But why?
He's
not any better. I mean, Jake Myers is not any better than him. I'm sorry.
I do not get it.
And if there's a ball that's hit into deep center field, I trust Chas McCormick to get that ball over Jake Myers.
Chas McCormick had the greatest catch in the history of the Astros franchise last year in Philadelphia in the World Series. And Dusty Baker, for whatever reason, has this agenda against him. Chas McCormick has the third best OPS on the team behind Yainer Diaz and Kyle Tucker.
I
don't get Dusty Baker right now, dude.
Also, he needs to play Yainer Diaz more. You need to play guys that are actually, producing hitting-wise, because this lineup's been, they're 29th in OPS?
Yes.
In the entire league? That's just unacceptable. And I know, injuries are playing a factor. Let's be real. They didn't start with Altuve. And then as soon as Altuve gets back, Yordan gets hurt. But still, I mean, you're a World Series champion from last year, bringing back mostly the same guys. The drop in performance should not be happening. Maybe it's a pitch clock thing that they still haven't adjusted to. Because let's be honest, the Astros were one of, the slowest teams in the league. Their pitchers had to take time. Their batters had to take time. I don't know, but still, you're a championship organization. Figure it out.
Here's a depressing stat if you're an Astros fans, and this pertains to their offense. Now, last night the offense did good, but the pitching staff, the bullpen is what blew it for them. But when the Astros score 3 or fewer runs, they're 4-27. 4-27 when they score 3 or fewer runs. On the other side, the Astros are 37-9 when scoring 4 or more runs. Last night, of course, they lost. They have a lot of problems right now. We've been talking all week during the group chat. Me and Aiden both believe that this is the worst Astros team since 2016 when they failed to miss the playoffs.
And the 2020
or when they missed the playoffs.
And the 2020 team just had a buttload of injuries, and so that, I still think that team was better. But man, dude, it's just I for one do say that the batting has been the number one issue for the Astros throughout the year. That's what's been responsible for most of their losses. Yeah. And then the second thing's the bullpen. But I in the trade deadline, assuming the Astros don't fall more flat on their face than they already have, let's be real. If the trade deadline comes and the Astros have a losing record, I think they're selling.
They're 6.5 game back.
If it gets too dire,
yeah,
I see them selling. But they gotta win some games to be alive in the race, so they can be aggressive to get a trade for a batter.
They are 6.5 games back of the Rangers, and right now they are a half game back of the LA Angels for the third and final wild card spot.
And one more point before I move on to y'all guys. As weak I mean, I wouldn't say weak. As thin as the starting rotation is, I don't think they've been an issue at all this year, the starting rotation.
It's just they're not getting run support, Alex.
Yeah, I agree completely. And you guys are more locked in on the Astros than I am. I'm still working my way into getting into baseball, and I think I've made strides on that, but I do keep up. I do understand what's going on. And, yeah, as you were saying, the run support just isn't there. The pitching has always been pretty good for the Astros for the most part. They still have some quality people in the bullpen. And the top of the rotation, as you said, the top 3 guys, they're all quality. But you just need some more help at the bottom to finish out a series.
And that's because Ronel Blanco actually pitched a pretty good game yesterday despite getting in trouble in the first inning. Retired 16 out of 17 batters after the first. But the run support hurt them. Dusty Baker, just so disappointing last night, man. I expect better from my manager.
Disappointing the entire season so far.
It's just frustrating seeing the Rangers and Angels absolutely rake.
And
the Astros can't.
If I'm one of the players in the clubhouse and I see that Dusty Baker didn't stand up for Ryan Stanek, if I'm Ryan Stanek, I'm upset at Dusty Baker. And I got a feeling a lot of Astros fans feel the same way about that.
Astros players.
Yeah, man. Astros got the Dodgers tonight on Sunday Night Baseball. Let's see if they can avoid a sweep. Just avoid a sweep. We'll see. Sunday Night Baseball, Astros and Dodgers tonight. Tune in. All right. That's going to wrap up our Astros report right there. Get in on the text line, 361-882-5397. Let us know your thoughts on the Astros. When we come back, we dive into more Victor Wembanyama talk, more NBA draft. Hour number 2 is coming up. You are listening to News Talk KOIS 1440 AM 987 FM, live from the Americana Arms Studios. We'll be back. Good morning, Corpus Christi Coastal Bend listeners worldwide. Welcome into hour number 2 of the Sunday Sports Rush right here on News Talk KEYS 1440 AM and 98.7 FM. I'm James Espinosa, your host, your fearless sports leader, joined by Adin Ducker behind the glass producing and co-hosting.
Cougars, I love Cougars.
Alex Weister's in the building.
I've already got a feeling this is going to be a lot more of a tame second hour as we got all of our energy out in the first.
We did get our energy out, and I'm actually going to my Twitter feed, at Sir Edward James, at False Hope is tweeting me, one of my good friends on Twitter. He says this. He says, at Sir Edward James is heated as F this morning. That is correct. I am heated. There are some sports things that have just extremely got me upset this week. I'm livid at the Astros. Livid!
I mean, imagine if the Spurs had the number 2 or 3 pick and they drafted Brandon Miller.
Oh, my gosh.
You would be extra mad.
Yes, I don't even know if I would have survived. Let's go ahead and let's reward the text line. Our question of the day was, will Victor Wembanyama win an NBA title with the Spurs? And if so, how long will it take? We got Ryan L. on the text line, 361-882-5397. Ryan says it'll probably take a year to get used to the Spurs playbook / merge with the team chemistry, but I could see them being back in the Western Conference Championship by his second season.
That's bold.
That is a bold take. Second season Western Conference Finals.
I mean, Tim Duncan.
Timmy did that. He won the NBA title.
The NBA title his second year, although the team was already established.
Yeah, the situation with Tim Duncan was a lot different than Wemby, because Tim Duncan came into a team that had Sean Elliott, that had David Robinson, that had Mario Ellie, that had Avery Johnson, that had a solidified veteran core already.
They were a playoff team, and then David Robinson got injured, and they decided to,
That core was a Western Conference Finals team, I believe, in 95 when they lost to the Rockets.
Yeah.
And then the Rockets went on to win the championship. So that core was solidified. This is a much different situation, but we appreciate Ryan getting in on the text line. Good take right there.
Yeah, Ryan L., more like Ryan Dub.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
I got to get one in. One bad pun a show.
We got George D on the text line. Shout out to George getting in this morning. George is weighing in on the Astros. So let's get George's take on the Astros. George says, good morning, guys. I agree with you with the Astros. I am a true and very hurt Astros fan this morning. Have a blessed day, y'all. Yes, George. And thank you, George. We appreciate that. We hope you have a great day as well. And thanks for getting in. Yes, Astros fans are hurt this morning. Last night was probably the worst loss of the season. One of the worst displays I've ever seen from Dusty Baker, not sticking up for his guys. Absolutely pathetic from Dusty. absolutely pathetic. Weigh in on the text line, 361-882-5397. Get your takes in here. We're with you till 11 a.m. At 10:30, we will have Jeff Garcia of KENS 5 San Antonio. He's going to talk to us about Wemby Mania in San Antonio and where the Spurs go from here. That's happening at 10:30. Right now, we're going to talk some more NBA because the draft did happen. And just to recap just a little bit of what happened in the NBA draft. Second overall pick after Wemby, it was a debate. Scoot Henderson, Brandon Miller. What is Charlotte going to do? Well, the Hornets went Hornets, and they drafted Brandon Miller over Scoot Henderson. So Brandon Miller going to Charlotte.
And that's because Brandon Miller was talking all sorts of crap about MJ and how MJ's not even, like his GOAT standing and all. He didn't think he was highly of him. It's not like he did not want to go to Charlotte. He was trying to he wanted to play with Dame in Portland and whatnot.
Yeah, when that camera got on him, though, he was singing a different tune.
Oh, of course. You're going to love whatever team picked you, right?
Charlotte, the Hornets fans, there's videos of the Hornets fans being absolutely disgusted with the pick because they wanted Scoot. They wanted to solidify that backcourt, have LaMelo play more of a two guard and then have Scoot be the 2 point.
If Brandon Miller had a bit different of an NCAA tournament, maybe we aren't talking like this because he did not help his draft stock with that.
But even with the gun issue,
that is the main issue, of course.
I mean, we already know what turmoil John Morant's brought to the Grizzlies.
Yeah,
and I don't like to say that this guy's gonna be a bust. I don't like going that far, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's a bust, man, because, most of Charlotte's picks don't pan out. They had Kemba, last decade, and then LaMelo's been nice, but overall they've been,
really bad.
I see this as another bust pick.
So Brandon Miller goes number 2, and it's the same Brandon Miller that our Islanders blanked for 0 points in the NCAA tournament. So just a fun fact right there. Just a fun Brandon Miller stat. The Islanders did give him a 0 points on the score sheet. Number 3 is Scoot Henderson. He goes to Portland. I like that pick.
I'm very happy with that pick. I'm pretty sure you probably saw the giant smile on my face with that one.
Now, there are reports out there that Dame was not in favor of drafting another point guard because they do already have Anthony Simons. Anthony Simons. They already have him. They got a lot of young guards. So this might be the foreshadowing to a potential Damian Lillard trade. And now the teams that are reportedly interested are the Miami Heat and the Brooklyn Nets.
Of course. I mean, the Heat are in contention for literally every single trade candidate ever.
I see the Heat have more assets to give for Damian Lillard. I do see, if he's not with the Trailblazers, I do see Damian Lillard on the Heat.
I can't see Dame going anywhere besides with the Trailblazers at this point with how much he's been through. And yes, what if it's another guard?
Unless Anthony Simons is a trade piece himself.
That's what I've seen a lot of. I've seen Anthony Simons brought up in trade packages quite a bit.
Interesting. So go ahead.
Yeah, but like I said, Scoot can play the point because he's more of a true point guard. Damian Lillard, I mean, he can
play shooting guard.
I mean, Damian Lillard, he could be like a hybrid Jamal Murray type of role where he could play at the 2, but if needed be, if Scoot needs to take a break, the
primary ball handler,
then he can run the point. So.
And then some NBA history was made as the Thompson twins, Amon Thompson and Ausar Thompson, both go number 4 and number 5. Amon Thompson goes to the Rockets. Ausar Thompson goes to the Detroit Pistons. That was a pretty cool, fun note right there from that just happened right there. Whenever the Pistons drafted the brother, I was like, oh, wow, the brothers went back to back. So that was kind of neat. I did like that. And, that was the top 5 of the draft. I mean, I don't want to dive into everything else. I guess we could say Grady Dick definitely did have an outfit choice.
That was bizarre.
On Thursday night.
It was like a modern day David Bowie, basically. He just needed the makeup.
It was that, or he was trying to channel his inner magician. I'm not exactly sure. Some Siegfried and Roy going on there, maybe Las Vegas-esque, but he ends up going to the Toronto Raptors at 13. The Mavericks end up getting Derek Lively, the big center, at pick number 12.
Basically the only true big man out of NCAA that got drafted in the lottery.
And then the Mavericks also got at pick number where am I at? At pick number 24, Omax Prosper. So those are their 2 picks. And then the Rockets got Cam Whitmore at number 20, which
A lot of Lakers fans wanted 17.
A pretty solid pick right there. So I think all the Texas teams had a pretty good draft.
I would agree.
Now, according to ESPN, they gave out their draft grades, right? The Spurs, guess what they got? Guess what they gave the Spurs for the draft?
What?
B.
What did they give
A
them?
B. They gave them an A.
Oh.
They gave them an A.
I thought they were going
Because
to...
they didn't do anything crazy. I was just like, it's just a standard B.
Now, let me get into this real quick because...
Oh, another SB rant.
The Spurs got a draft grade of an A. And in the second round, they picked Sidi Sissoko, who's a French guard who played with the G League Ignite team. Now, Sissoko, he's a big guard. He's like 6'7". He can guard the 1 through 4, but he's more of a, he's going to be a little bit of a project. He'll probably play with the Austin Spurs this year, but still, pretty good value, right, at pick number 44. Well, Spurs fans on Twitter, and there's a sect of Spurs fans out there who are just miserable no matter what. These people are pathetic. During the draft night, the same draft you drafted the generational talent Victor Wembanyama, there was Spurs fans calling for the job of Brian Wright, R.C. Buford, Greg Popovich, because the Spurs did not trade back up into the first round to get another young stud. These people are insane. If you're one of those Spurs fans that is just never satisfied, I cannot take you seriously. Now, it's okay to criticize the front office whenever they make mistakes, etc. But, dude, the Spurs literally drafted Victor Wembanyama, and you're upset? What is wrong with you? Are you that mental?
I mean, them not trading up, it wasn't like a thing set in stone where like we're really, really expecting this. It was sort of like this is something they could possibly do because they have the assets for it.
This is what I saw on Twitter. Fire Brian Wright. This organization fell asleep at the wheel. Why aren't they taking the guy I watched YouTube highlights on? Let the pros be pros and sit your dumb ass down. I'm tired of these idiotic takes from this sect of Spurs fans, dude. Y'all guys are pathetic and miserable, and I cannot fan like that. I'm sorry.
You're going to be singing a different tune if they do a sign and trade for Jaylen Brown with the picks they would have used to move up and draft some random guard out of the middle of nowhere.
Exactly.
Come on now.
Look, it's like that TikTok thing. Let him cook.
Yeah.
Let him cook. Let Brian Wright cook.
If we're 2 years down the road, they still have all these picks, the team isn't building out like we hope, then maybe say something then. But for right now, just let it play out.
And then, later on, if Brian Wright ends up pulling off a trade, getting the actual, somebody the caliber of Jaylen Brown, then we can, do the other means. Someone cooked here.
And then guess what? They'll love Brian Wright for that. But then guess what? 2 minutes later, there'll be something wrong with Brian Wright again. These people are never satisfied. I want to play the Wemby audio on his first impressions of San Antonio. This was Wemby in his introduction to San Antonio Friday afternoon. Here is Wembanyama talking about his first impressions of San Antonio.
You've been here less than 24 hours. What has been your initial impression of the city of San Antonio and its people?
What I've seen is only love. Even before I landed, we were seeing fans right outside the airport. Just people, I felt so much love from people who don't even know me yet, and that just pushes me to love them and to show them as much love as I can and to give them as much fun as I can too.
So there we go.
And
City is showing love, baby.
And that's just how Spurs fans are. If you go out and you see these Spurs fans, the ones that mainly go out, like the ones who are at the stadium, the ones who make these songs, these are the ones that make the Spurs fan base so likable because they, no matter who you are, if you come into this organization and you buy in, they will show you all the love that they can.
I want to play it, and that's an excellent take, man. Spurs fans, they love their players.
They really do.
They support like no other, man. When the Spurs are hot, that city of San Antonio is such a vibe. I absolutely love it. I want to play this quick audio clip of Victor Wembanyama. And by the way, that audio was courtesy of Spurs.com. That was Sean Elliott interviewing Victor Wembanyama. This next audio, I pulled this from Twitter, and it's a reporter from Bleacher Report. And she is asking Victor Wembanyama about Riz. Now, Riz, for everybody listening out there, is short for charisma. And Riz is pretty much like your swagger.
Yeah.
Just for layman's terms, right? It's kind of a new age term, Riz. So they asked Victor Wembanyama about his Riz. And here is what Victor Wembanyama had to say about his Riz.
Can you explain to me what Riz is, and do you think you have it? Riz is, and do you have that?
Riz, yeah, from what I know, and I'm not familiar with all English terms, but the ability to pull females, right? Of course I have it. Doesn't mean I use it.
What an answer!
You not love this kid. I mean, that is so
the ability to pull females, right? Of course I have it. Doesn't mean I use it.
That is great.
That is awesome. I'm already head over heels for Victor Wembanyama.
Yeah.
He has climbed the charts of my favorite players, and he hasn't even played a single minute yet. But what this kid is saying, how he's carrying himself, his demeanor, his attitude, the love that he's already, showing towards the fan base. Yeah, man. I mean, this kid just seems like he's A1 from all aspects, and that's exciting if you're a San Antonio Spurs fan. That's going to wrap up this segment. Question of the day. Does Victor Wembanyama win a title with the Spurs? And if so, how fast does he do it? 361-882-5397. Hit us up on the text line. I'll get your reactions after the break. Coming up next, we got some NFL beef. Yes, an NFL beef has brewed this week. We'll fill you in after the break. Welcome back, Sunday Sports Rush, episode 122. James, Aiden, and Alex with you till 11 a.m. We appreciate all of you all getting in on the text line, hitting us up on Twitter and Facebook. If you're looking to lose a few pounds, pay attention. Our friend Jerry at Crossroads has an exciting new study involving a pill version of Mounjaro. Crossroads is currently looking for volunteers to try this weight loss pill, but there are some conditions. You have to be diabetic and have heart problems to qualify for this study. So if you need to lose a few, you're diabetic, you have those heart issues, call our friend and sponsor Jerry over at Crossroads Research, 361-288-4668. That's 361-288-4668. For more info, hit them up at number3cra.com. That is number3cra.com. Thanks to Jerry and Crossroads Clinical Research for sponsoring the show. All right. We do have some reactions on Twitter. At War Eagle is hitting me up. At Sir Edward James on Twitter if you want to give me a follow. He has observations to make. Here's War Eagle. Glad to have him, but to be determined. He's talking about Wemby. Glad to have him, but to be determined. Good for the city, but we need a championship. We can't crown him this early. It's too soon. Oh, and a big middle finger to Houston for hating on Wemby just because they didn't get him. Such a loser fan base. That is War Eagle taking shots at Rockets fans. Yeah, Rockets fans have been kind of sour. They've been very, very sour this week.
I mean, they've already been in the lottery the past 2 or 3 years. I mean, y'all got Jalen Green and all that. I mean, it was a Spurs' turn to be in the lottery.
We got Michael in here. Michael is weighing in on the Wemby talk. Michael says, it depends on if he can stay healthy and the Spurs put the right people around him. If they do, probably between years 5 and 8 that he wins his title. Okay, Michael, that's kind of the range I'm in. 5 to 8, maybe 4 to 8. I think that's when we might see it happen. Keith is in here. Keith says, it'll take a few years at least and probably another strong draft pick. The new CBA will make it difficult to get many free agents, but personally, I like the new CBA. Was tired of all the, quote, super teams coming together. Facts. I like that. Great take right there from Keith. The new CBA does make it a little bit harder to form super teams, and thus there's a little bit more parity in the NBA now.
We've already seen parity start to come back to the NBA in recent years with all these superstars moving and sort of going out to other teams that we wouldn't usually see.
I like that. Get your takes in on the text line, 361-882-5397. Will Wemby win a title? And if so, how soon does he win it with the Spurs? Let's talk some NFL because we did have some beef that occurred. Travis Kelce and Jamar Chase are beefing. Now, how did this beef start? It started whenever Jamar Chase pretty much said that Joe Burrow is better than Patrick Mahomes. Now, Jamar Chase's quote, they asked Jamar Chase, what do you think about Patrick Mahomes winning the MVP, et cetera, et cetera. Jamar Chase said, Pat who? Which made, some Chiefs fandom and some Chiefs players kind of stick their head out. The Pat who comment is what got Travis Kelce going. Here is Travis Kelce's response to the comments. Travis Kelce ended up saying, it is what it is, dog. Who doesn't love some good locker room banter, man? Kelsey said. Shout out to Jamar Chase for holding it down for his QB, but don't you ever disrespect Pat Mahomes. Now, if you want to talk your S, pimp. Just better back it up.
Now, here's what I am confused about in all of this.
I love NFL beef.
The way you read it was...
Well, yeah, that, but he said he was backing up his QB, but his QB didn't say anything about Patrick Mahomes. He said he's the best quarterback in the league. So if Joe Burrow was saying, oh, I'm the best quarterback or somebody else is, that's different. But Joe Burrow is speaking highly of Patrick Mahomes, and then Jamar Chase just comes out of left field and says, who even is that? What?
Travis Kelce went on to say, I thought it was a little bold. Mahomes is a two-time league MVP, two-time Super Bowl MVP. To say Pat who is like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Jason Kelce, Travis Kelce's brother, because they have a podcast together. Jason Kelce said he thought it was, quote, a little disrespectful. And
Fair.
This is also from Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce said Pat didn't like it. Mahomes ended up tweeting a picture of himself at the Chiefs ring ceremony. Glad you guys had fun doing that, wearing his 2 Super Bowl rings with his declaration, that's who. So Patrick Mahomes ended up tweeting out a picture with his 2 rings saying
he's
that's
right.
who.
So, you can't deny it.
Just some NFL beef here. And you know what? I'm personally here for it because I think Chiefs and Bengals, this is a rivalry.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is a good rivalry to have. They've met in the playoffs. They've battled. I mean, Burrow, Mahomes, the 2 stalwarts of the AFC. Yeah, I want this. I want heat. I want animosity. And these 2 teams will play each other again in Week 17 in Cincinnati in Kansas City.
And that is such a good time to play
and it hurts me as a Ravens fan seeing the Bengals are an established playoff team now. It's like,
So Kansas City hosts Cincinnati Week 17 on December the 31st.
That is
New Year's
such
Eve.
a good time to play them right towards the end of the season. It's basically a playoff matchup. Props to the NFL schedule making for that one because that's perfect.
Yeah, definitely so. Aaron Rodgers is advocating for psychedelics in the NFL.
Oh, God.
Oh, man.
Aaron Rodgers spoke at a psychedelic conference in Colorado, of all places, of course. And Aaron Rodgers had something to say. Quote from Aaron Rodgers, is it not ironic that the things that actually expand your mind are illegal and the things that keep you in the lower chakras and dumb you down have been legal for centuries? Rodgers said. Rodgers also described taking ayahuasca with his teammates as, quote, radically life-changing.
He took a bad hit somewhere in the middle of his career, a la Antonio Brown.
Oh, I thought you meant he took a bad hit of psychedelics.
No, he took a bad hit to the head somewhere.
Now,
and he's sharing like Robert Kennedy Jr. stuff now on his Instagram.
1440 keys.
I mean,
now let me just speak on this for a second, okay? He comes from a team in Wisconsin. In Wisconsin, there is a lot of people who do a lot of things that are not legal substances. There is a lot of that goes around in Wisconsin. I can attest to that. This man, his brain is likely in a puddle at this point because of all of the things that he has ingested in that state. And I am not surprised that multiple of his teammates have partaken in that. He's just unhinged.
One last quote from Aaron Rodgers before we hit the break. Aaron Rodgers is criticizing the bums who have never taken ayahuasca. Here's a quote from Aaron Rodgers. Because I guarantee you all these bums who want to come after me online about my experience and stuff, they've never tried it, he added. They're the perfect people for it. We need to get these people taking it. He
is just your stereotypical stoner guy. Like, you don't even try it.
Aaron Rodgers is like the drug dealer of the NFL. Like, he's the guy.
He's that. There's that clip of John Cena in that movie. I don't even know what I'm talking about, where he has like every single drug known to man on him.
That's Aaron Rodgers now. Aaron Rodgers is hanging out with a big ass coat jacket in the corner, and people are just like, Aaron, you got it? And Aaron just opens up his jacket. And there's just all these psychedelic drugs like, yeah, what do you need, dog?
It's harmless and it's funny.
It is.
I like it.
It's all in good fun. All in good fun. All right. Coming up next, Jeff Garcia, KENS 5 San Antonio, Locked On Spurs host. He joins us. We got more Wemby talk. Where are the Spurs going? Keep it locked. An interview with Jeff Garcia coming up next. Welcome back to the Sports Rush Unplugged here in the 1440 Keys studio with that nice acoustic intro. Adin, of course, doing his thing behind the glass. All right. What a week it's been. What a weekend it has been. It's one of the best sports weekends of my fandom, especially when it comes to the San Antonio Spurs. And you know what? There's no other person I want to talk to get the latest Spurs intel than Jeff Garcia, KENS 5 San Antonio, host of the Locked On Spurs podcast. Jeff, good morning, my man. What is up?
I am doing better. I've been battling a bad cold, and of all weeks for it to hit would be Wemby week.
Oh my goodness! Hey, you're playing sick. This is your Jordan flu game.
Right, exactly. Let me tell you, I've been playing the Jordan flu game since draft day, media day, and then of course draft night. But fighting through it. But hey, I got to see history in the making out in New York City at Brooklyn. I was there in person to see the big night.
Yeah,
the most anticlimactic draft. And let me tell you, it really just felt like the Wembanyama draft, and I'll go into detail on that in a while.
Yeah, so you were in Brooklyn. You were out there covering for KENS 5, doing a fantastic job. All you guys at KENS 5, man, I mean, y'all sent out a squad out there. Y'all guys had some amazing coverage, so, shout out to that. But you were there. You saw it firsthand. You got to interact with Wemby. First of all, what was your initial thoughts when you first laid eyes on Wembanyama? And then when you first got to interact with him, what stood out to you the most?
Well, let me start off the court. And what I mean by that is, sure, there was the draft media day and the draft itself. But I was able to tag along with him at an NBA community event out in Harlem, New York. And, typical event, a photo op. He's interacting with kids, cutting the ribbon for a new STEM research lab for the school. The kids huddling around him, asking him silly questions. But let me tell you, because he was being pulled away in different directions, like photograph here, interview French media there, closed area. So he's leaving, and I guess he realizes that he hasn't really spent enough time with the kids who were there to be with him and play with him and shoot some hoops with him. He stops his entourage. He takes about 5-10 minutes away from that, goes back into with the kids, signs autographs, takes pictures, throws some hoops up with the kids. And then as he's leaving, he just waves bye to the kids. So it was really good to see him be aware of the real reason why he was there is for the children to interact with them and play with them. So I thought that was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
We all know his X's and O's. We get that. I think as far as on the court is concerned, right now we're just waiting to see hold right now because we know what he did in the French League. We know what he did with Asvel. We know his advanced stats by now. It's just now the next step is just, can he put it together on the NBA court?
Now,
we'll definitely get a sneak preview of that coming up soon.
Now, you talk, of course, it's much documented what he's done on the court, right?
Yeah.
And of course, the showcase he had last year against the G League Ignite, which really kind of put him in the forefront of everybody's eyes. But what you mentioned right there, Jeff, is very telling, man. The fact that he was self-aware to take time for the kids to, 5 to 10 minutes to the kids, that might be, in hindsight, it's only 10 minutes, right? But that makes a lifetime of memories for those kids out in that Harlem area. So that's awesome to see. And the thing I'm taking away is from everything I've seen out of Wemby, all the media, all the introductions, all that, he just seems like a well put together young man, not kind of like your typical 19-year-old kid.
Exactly, yeah. And, even after the draft was done, he put the Spurs cap on. What I like about him, he can go with the flow. So for what I mean by that is this. You can ask him X's and O question, and he'll answer it as best he can. But when it's time to just mess around and joke with him, he'll do that too. So, for example, somebody asked him, hey, what would you put in your breakfast taco? And he just rolled with it. He didn't have a struggle. He didn't pass up with a question. He didn't grimace, think it was cringy. He rolled with it. And then I asked him a serious question about not playing with, but playing for Tony Parker and Asvel, and then playing for Boris Diaw during the press conference. And he was honest, so I like that. The range he has is pretty dynamic. And, he tells me that Tony and Boris didn't really teach him anything about the Spurs, that they integrated him. They taught him more about integrating himself into the NBA. So yeah, he can definitely just roll with it, and I like that. I think he's gonna be a really, really good media darling, so to speak, once the NBA season gets going.
We're here with Jeff Garcia, KENS 5 San Antonio, host of the Locked On Spurs podcast. Yeah, that's another observation I've had is that, we've seen Timmy, we've seen Manu, we've seen Tony, the big three, and the way they kind of handled media, they were a lot more guarded. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot more to kept things to the chest. It just seems, like you said, that Wembanyama is going to be much more media friendly and maybe possibly a little bit more outspoken as his career, continues. So that's going to be awesome to document and see, and y'all guys will, of course, do a good job on bringing us all that information. Now, a question that I have for you, Jeff, because Greg Popovich did come out, and he did mention Summer League and Wembanyama, and that there are some plans for him to play in the Summer League. Can you expand on that? Do you know how much he might play, or what is the general sense of his minutes during Summer League?
Well, he already revealed that on his final day with the Metros 92 when he was asked by an opposing player if he will play in the Summer League, and he said yes, and then he answered the how much. He just said a little bit. And what that means, I don't know, but he wants to dip his toe into it. In my opinion, I could definitely see him playing like a splash at the Sacramento or I think it's called the California Classic.
Yeah.
Summer League. And then really kind of maybe play more, than a couple of games at the NBA Vegas Summer League. Look, and the reason I bring that up is because the Summer League, all teams are allowed or going to play at minimum 5 games, with the 5th game to be determined. So that's 4 definitive games. If I'm the Spurs, I get it out of the way early. I play them those first 2, maybe not the full game, but maybe a half, a quarter here, a half a quarter there. And then because he has to go then join Team France for the basketball Euro Cup that's coming up this August. So my opinion is he is actually correct. I think it will be a little bit simply because he has a jam-packed summer schedule. Not to mention this, too, he's taking part in the first ever NBA Con, kind of like a Comic-Con, but NBA Con.
Oh, wow.
Out in Las Vegas. So, and he's a headliner.
Yeah, of course. And some of the things that I've been saying, right, here and on my YouTube feed and whatnot is that, the international eyes are going to be on San Antonio like no other. I mean, the national media will probably be there.
They're already there.
Yeah.
They're already there.
ESPN will assign a guy that's going to specifically be there every night to cover Wemby. And my thing about this is now that he's in this national media, now that the international media is going to be there, do you think that the scrutiny will come if, obviously, right, he's going to be heavily scrutinized if he doesn't, play well in one game, and it's going to be almost like the way LeBron James is heavily scrutinized after one game. Do you feel that Wemby has the, wherewithal to handle that kind of pressure?
I think he does. And the screening is going to come fast and furious. One poster on him, it's going to be all over, the highlight reel.
Yep.
Somebody crosses him over, drops him to the floor, he breaks ankles. Knock on wood that doesn't happen, but that's going to be everywhere. So, and the thing about it is, I know he knows it's coming. Like his target, the target on his back is massive, not just from his fellow classmates. And I bring that up because it really felt like this past draft was just a Wembanyama draft, and that was it. Let me tell you, I've gone to many NBA drafts. I lost count already. I've never seen it so lopsided, where it was just all about one individual. So usually, NBA draft media day, everybody, whether you're Zion, you're Paolo, you're LeBron James, you're whichever number 1 pick in the past, everybody gets lumped together. It doesn't matter who you are. They dedicated an entire wing just to Wemby, and it's just him.
That's crazy.
Everybody else was at a bottom floor, at a different floor.
That's crazy.
Yeah. After that media session, I went downstairs. And there was, I saw Scoot Henderson, I saw Grady Dick, I saw all the other, Brandon Miller, all those names there, and it was dead. It was dead.
Damn.
I remember days where I could even get close to Zion. I remember that draft. I couldn't even get close to him in the generic room. I was right in front of Scoot talking to him, and because everybody just dispersed. As soon as Wemby was over, everybody left.
Crazy.
The draft draft night too, it just felt like it was quiet in the bowels of Barclays. It was just quiet because Wemby did his thing and everybody left.
We're here with Jeff Garcia, KENS 5, San Antonio.
Oh, Jeff, it's Aiden here. I want to talk in terms of this free agency period that's about to happen.
Yeah.
So we've seen that Wembanyama wants to play as a forward, and I guess most of us could agree that that would be the perfect place for him to start out his career in. I, for one, would love the Spurs to go after Brook Lopez because I feel like he's a big that he's not one dimensional. He could play inside, and then he could stretch the floor at times, and he's a solid defender. We've seen that with the Bucks. Do you think the Spurs should go after him, and do you think they will go after him?
I think they should draft him. I don't know if they will target him specifically, simply because I think they have a lot of faith in Zach Collins. Don't forget, at the end of the last season, Popovich made it very clear Zach Collins would be back. This is even before, I mean, I don't know if that's tap read or something, but he said it flat out. He goes, hey, Zach Collins will be back. Okay. Then I think they're kind of invested in this Charles Bassey, the local kid from San Antonio.
Yeah. He had some good positive moments last year.
Yeah. I think they're invested in him. Remember, they gave him a pretty good contract, all things considered, last season. And then, of course, there's what are you going to do with I'm not going to attempt to pronounce his last name, but Mamu, M-A-M-U. The big.
Yeah, I know you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, he might be the odd person out in this situation if they do go and just shore up the big man department. But as far as Brook Lopez is concerned, I agree. I think he would make a natural, or just obvious, signing, because he has championship experience. Maybe he didn't win it, but I mean, what he did with the Bucks, I forgot. And then, he's burly. He's not afraid to mix it up. He's not afraid to be that enforcer type of player. And I think that would be a great pickup. And everybody's talking about the Spurs needing to target a point guard. I think people are discounting Trey Jones. I think they really are.
Yes, dude. There's so many people out there right now on Spurs Twitter, and you know how Spurs Twitter can get, Jeff, they just want to toss Trey Jones to the side. They think he's spare parts, as if he can't contribute to this team.
Before he got traded, Jakob Poeltl, I had Jakob as my most improved Spur up until the point he got traded. But as the season went on, I was like, Trey Jones is really, really, really impressing me. And again, I get it. His shot is off. But then again, pretty much as of right now, the current roster, nobody really could shoot the ball, from Trey Jones to Keldon to Sohan. And I get the idea of shoring up perimeter offense, from long distance.
Yep.
But what I like about Trey Jones, simply is not that, is that he doesn't need touches. And that with Wembanyama, you want a point guard who is steady and consistent. And that's what Trey Jones was. He was steady and consistent. Also, too, he was available. Rarely was he out of action for injuries. Rarely. His assist to turnover ratio is tremendous, one of the best in the league. Is he undersized? Yes. But as this past playoff run showed, and, obviously the last two teams standing, nobody really had a point guard. I think that's what I like about Trey Jones. He's a point guard because Wemby's going to need his touches. Obviously, he's going to be the first option. Then it's probably going to be Devin or Keldon, and then who knows who's going to come up next after that.
Exactly.
Sohan. Yeah. But that's what I like about Trey Jones. Look, if they run it back with Trey, I'll be fine with that. That's fine, and I think that's what they're going to do. I think the Spurs are really invested in Trey Jones. But if they go out and look for another guard, I just hope it's perhaps a seasoned guard that provides some more generalship on that court.
We're here with Jeff Garcia, KENS 5 San Antonio, host of the Locked On Spurs podcast. Jeff, we appreciate your time this morning. We're running a little bit short here. We got to hit the break, but real quickly, what is the vibe like in the city right now, San Antonio? I can't even imagine just the energy in that city right now.
It's like that old Saturday Night Live skit. with Christopher Walken. I need more cowbell. It's like this, I need more Wemby. That's what it feels like. Everybody just needs more Wemby. And Wemby fever is taking all over San Antonio.
We love it, man. We love it. We cannot wait till Wemby hits the court and follow this Spurs team, follow his career. And then, Jeff, of course, you know we're going to be talking, man. We got to keep up with the Spurs, and you're the best guy to do it for us, man. So we appreciate your time. Thank you for doing this. I know you're feeling sick, so and even bigger thanks for fighting through that, Jeff. You're always one of the best. We appreciate you.
Anytime, you got it.
All righty, there he goes. Have a good day, Jeff. Jeff Garcia, KENS 5 San Antonio. When we come back, we got more of your listener reaction. It's a sports grab bag, Sunday Sports Rush. Sunday Sports Rush, last segment. James, Aiden, and Alex with you. We got about 8 minutes left. Shout out to Jeff Garcia for speaking with us this morning. KENS 5 San Antonio, Locked on Spurs podcast, the godfather of Spurs media. We'll have that interview podcasted shortly after the show, so keep an eye on that on 1440keys.com. And, of course, our Spotify, search Sunday Sports Rush. Give us a subscribe, rate, all that good stuff. Give us a listen if you missed the show or any part of the show live. War Eagle's back in here on Twitter. It's a sports grab bag. War Eagle is commenting on the picture of Victor Wembanyama at dinner with David Robinson, Sean Elliott, Manu Ginobili, and Tim Duncan. War Eagle says, when I was younger, Robinson was tall. Then came Duncan, who was 2. But that pick of Wemby and the rest, OMG, he makes them look like regular people.
I know, it's crazy. It's always good seeing like the Spurs, you know, the all-time great players of the Spurs organization mentor him. And notice Tony Parker's not there. We don't want Wemby to replicate his off the court stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
you know, we want to
keep Tony Parker away when Wemby gets a girlfriend.
No, on the court, you know, yeah, Tony Parker will more than welcome to mentor, you know, Wemby on the court, but off the court.
It's been a fun show, a lot of Wemby talk, a lot of partying. I want to play the Wemby song one more time, please. Please, okay. For me. Play it now. Play the Wemby song by and I need to give credit to this band. This is the Mariachi Campanas de America out of San Antonio. There we go. Turn it up!
I'm not going to.
Spurs! Wembanyama, Wembanyama. Wembanyama.
Record him, Alec.
Wembanyama. Let's go! Go Spurs, go! I love it. I love it. You got a few minutes left. Get in on the text line. Let us know your thoughts on the Spurs and Victor Wembanyama. All right, real quickly, we're in the sports grab bag, so we can do whatever the hell we want this segment. That's pretty much why I named it that. All right, I want to play the audio of Sinton's Blake Mitchell because he was at the Major League Baseball Draft Combine.
One of the many players from Coastal Bend High School
was
baseball.
Jack Bell there as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe there was a couple other people there.
Yeah, so a lot of representation from the 361 out there. But
that means Jack Bell's good.
But yeah, exactly.
As if we didn't know that already.
But Blake Mitchell was there, and he got interviewed by Jared Carrabas. Here's a quick clip of Blake Mitchell being interviewed by Jared Carrabas of Major League Baseball's network.
With Blake right now, and there's a couple questions that I want to get into a little bit later. But first, being a catcher, we got to talk leadership. You know, you're behind the dish, you're guiding your pitchers through every single outing. What part of your game do you take the most pride in? Because you've got to hit, you're throwing guys out, but I've also listened to some pitchers talk about how they feel super comfortable on the mound because they have you behind the plate. What do you take the most pride in?
Yeah, you know, being those pitchers' best friends when you're back there behind the plate is a huge factor. You know, when I'm back there, I want to give them the utmost confidence on the mound when they're up there pitching. So, you know, they have no worries when they're up on the mound. They have full trust in me, full trust in their defense. So I'm just trying to calm the situation, cool them down, and just let them go out there and do their thing.
100%.
What a professional answer.
Honestly, and I'm going to say this now, I'm going to be very shocked if this kid doesn't pan out because from everything I've seen, from his coolness on the field, even in the face of that game against Bernie, when he got ejected, I didn't see him as angry as the rest of the people. Not only that, he's a great batter, and he seems like he just brings a calming presence to the field, and I feel like he's, as he said, going to be a pitcher's best friend. I feel like he's great behind the plate, he's great batting, and overall, I think this kid's just got it.
Yeah, I feel like he can at least do what Jose Trevino is doing in the major league right now. Jose Trevino has been fairly solid for the Yankees since he was traded there last year. I feel like Blake Mitchell could replicate that. I mean, Carabas likes him. I like him. We all do.
I mean, look, man, we saw him in that pivotal moment his junior year against Cal Allen when, Cal Allen was threatening to potentially tie or walk off the game. Blake Mitchell came in there as cool as can be and absolutely just shut it down. We've seen the kid in big moments, and it's just exciting to see that he's getting national recognition. And by all accounts, by everything I've read, he could be a top 15 pick, maybe top 10 in the first round of the Major League Baseball draft. That is how good this kid is.
And that's good specifically because that means he's going to go to a team that isn't horrible. Unless it's a team that has a pick from somebody else that's a bad team, that later range in that draft is where you start to see the teams that kind of need just a few pieces to really start a push.
And typically when you're a first-round pick in Major League Baseball, they kind of, they're going to put you're going to play a little bit of rookie ball, but you're kind of fast-tracked. You know what I mean? You'll go to AA, you'll get to AAA, and then within a year or two, they're making their Major League debuts because that's just the talent that they have.
And especially in a position that he's playing in catcher, that's a position that is needed no matter what team you are. You look at any team across the league, and they can all use a catcher. Of course, you talk about a team like the Phillies who has a JT Realmuto, but you can still always have another guy there because he's getting up in age. There's not that many young, great catchers in the league.
Catcher is one of the most important position, if not the most important position on a baseball team. And they are the leader.
Yes, and finding one that can be a leader, a calming presence who pitchers love to be around, but can also hit really well, that's a rare find.
Awesome. So, we wish the best to him. We'll be definitely keeping tabs.
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to try my best to keep tabs on the draft when I'm overseas. It's going to be a fat chance that I'll be able to, but I will absolutely be checking to see where he went in the draft if he goes.
You'll be able to at least keep track on Twitter or something like that.
Yeah, I'm going to try my best. This is the first player that I've ever got to see in person that's going to get drafted. Of course, I'm absolutely going to watch that.
That's incredible right there. So shout out to Blake Mitchell and shout out to all the other 361 baseball players who went to the Major League Baseball's Combine this past week out in Arizona. And that is going to wrap up this edition of the Sunday Sports Rush. We'll have it podcasted on our 1440keys.com podcast page. We'll have it podcasted on Spotify here this afternoon. So if you missed any parts of the show, make sure to download our podcast and give it a listen. Shout out to Jeff Garcia, KENS 5 San Antonio, once again for getting in this morning. And shout out to everybody who interacted with us on social media and on the text line. We love you guys.
Yeah, y'all are thankful we don't have a video. Y'all didn't get to see James doing his dance moves.
I'm a fool. I'm a fool, but I'm a sports baby. I love it. I love it so much. Great job as always, guys. Aiden, excellent.
Yeah.
Alex, you brought it.
Appreciate it.
All righty, guys. That's going to wrap it up for us.
Next week, Dotson Lewis.
Yeah, Dotson is back next week for Man Card Court, so that's going to be fun. All righty, no more questions for Adin Ducker, Alex Weister. I'm James Espinosa. No more questions. We'll talk to you next week.